Okay, this video is here to explain what happens when you have Mars in the 11th house in your birth chart. So what is the 11th house? The 11th house is ruled by Saturn and Aquarius. The 11th house deals with large social network circles and groups and organizations. It represents elder siblings, and that's just about it for what the 11th house represents. It represents just large abundance of financial gains and stuff. And Mars represents male friends, brothers, blood, fire and weapons, and debt and losses. So when you put Mars into the 11th house, what we get here is, for one, someone here, they could have a huge desire to want to accumulate a lot of financial wealth and gains, because Mars represents energy and action and drive. So if Mars sitting in the 11th house, we see that one of your motives in this lifetime might be to maybe integrate yourself into large groups and organizations and try to maybe network and acquire wealth. Or maybe you might be drawn or desire to maybe be like the head or leader of a group or organization or something to acquire wealth and gains. Someone with Mars in the 11th house, they might have a lot of male friends or just a lot of male allies and co-workers and colleagues in their network circle with Mars in the 11th house. But one thing about Mars is that Mars isn't really like a planet that's like the significator of like a leader. Mars is more so like the muscle. Mars is just someone who just follows orders and takes actions. So one thing that you also might see is that even though Mars in the 11th house might have a desire to maybe want to network and be in groups and maybe being like a leadership position amongst groups or organizations to fulfill a goal and dream and desire, they might struggle at trying to achieve this feat. Because think about it, think of like Mars is like a literal soldier, you know. Most soldiers and people who've been in wars or in service for a long time, they dedicate their life to their country for so long and killing people and fighting that without no war, without nothing to fight for, they don't know what the hell they want to do in life. So Mars here, they sort of just feel a little bit lost. They not really maybe too good at, maybe coming up with their own dreams and goals and ideas and figuring out maybe how to go after exactly what they want. I probably botched up this analogy that I was trying to give, but some of Mars in the 11th house might struggle a little bit when it comes to just mainly being in a group or ahead of a group and trying to make gains from it. Unless you got other aspects looking at your Mars, or if there's another planet sitting in the 11th house. Mars aspects the 4th and the 8th house from itself. So with Mars' 4th aspect, because I'm a Vedic astrologer, Mars with its 4th aspect, it looks at the 2nd house. The 2nd house represents your speech and the family that you came from, and represents your own personal financial wealth. So in Mars, as I've told you, it's a significator of debt. So Mars looking at the 2nd house can, for one, give someone aggressive and assertive and authoritative speech and way of talking. And Mars looking at the 2nd house can potentially make you very inclined to acquiring a lot of debt. Because like I said, Mars is a significator of debt, and it's sitting in the 11th house, represents large financial wealth and gains. It's looking at the 2nd house of your own personal finances and wealth. And with Mars's 8th aspect, it looks at the 6th house. The 6th house is also a natural significator of debt. So some of Mars in the 11th house can be very prone to acquiring a lot of debt and owing people money and stuff. And they could tirelessly work real hard to maybe try to acquire a lot of wealth to pay off the debts that they are in, because the 6th house not only represents debts with Mars' 8th aspect looking at the 6th. The 6th house represents your health. It represents your the 6th house represents your health. The 6th house represents routine things that we do on a regular day-to-day basis. So that could be like a 9 to 5 job. Like I said, some of Mars in the 11th house, they could potentially be very driven and goal-oriented in finding and trying to find ways to acquire wealth, especially to pay off debts. But if Mars doesn't have like the guidance or the aspect or the conjunction from maybe like Mercury or Saturn or maybe even Jupiter, but many, a planet like Mercury or Saturn, then someone with Mars in the 11th house could probably more so struggle with financial debts and struggle with how to best direct their energy, because Mars represents your energy and drive. They could struggle with ways to direct their energy in a productive manner to acquire wealth, unless they got like a good aspect for, like I said, maybe the North Node of Rahu or Saturn or Mercury. What else? That is short and simple, just about it. You could potentially, like I said, work yourself sick because it aspects the 6th house of your health and your body and stuff. But at the same time, with Mars' aspect looking at the 6th house, you could be very workaholic, and you could be someone who is very serious in the work environment. You could, come to work at McDonald's, whatever, a retail store, whatever the hell you do. And when you come to work, you are very serious. You could be very no nonsense. You just come to work, be serious, and complete your goal and task. And then you might be, all laughs and giggles. Mars's aspect, 4th aspect on the 2nd house. When it comes, you could just be very authoritative and serious amongst your peers, your co-workers and stuff. You just have this very serious way of speaking. And that might also sort of, potentially burn bridges and affect the way that you might be able to bring people together when it comes to maybe being in a position of power, when it comes to leading people or whatever. If it has anything to do with making money, people might be like, oh, you speak rudely, or you come off as intimidating or unfriendly, or not knowing how to speak to people with Mars in the 11th house. That could also sort of affect you with potentially trying to accumulate a lot of wealth with Mars in the 11th house. Maybe with Mars in the 11th house, your elder sibling, especially your elder brother, because Mars represents brothers and the 11th house is elder siblings. Maybe your elder siblings or older brother could be a source of financial debts in your life potentially. But that's all I have to say really and can think of when it comes to Mars in the 11th house in your birth chart. Hope this gave you some great insight and clarity on what to expect with Mars in the 11th house if you have this in your chart. Thank you for watching, and bye.